Really happy to welcome to the podcast Congressman Jim Jordan. Jim is the U.S. Representative for Ohio's 4th Congressional District. He's a position he's had since 2007. He's also a ranking member of the House Judiciary Committee. Jim, thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Hey, let me start by asking you about the border, because I thought that we sort of had a win when the Supreme Court kind of did not intervene in the decision in Texas, basically restoring Trump's Remain in Mexico policy. So how is it the case that when we have Remain in Mexico, that you got all these immigrants from Haiti, but also other places that get to stay and are being dispersed through the country? How is the Biden administration getting away with that?
Well, they're just sending the wrong message. I mean, so much of this is about the message sent from the Oval Office, the message sent from the White House. When you tell the whole world, we're really not going to follow, even though they have this court decision, we're not going to keep the Remain in Mexico policy in place. We're not going to build the wall. We're not going to deport anyone. When you send that message, and that's in fact what you're doing, people come. And obviously we're seeing it. And frankly, Dinesh, I don't know how any rational person can reach any other conclusion than this is intentional. This is deliberate, because I've been saying this in every interview I've been doing. March was the highest month on record for illegal crossings until the month of April. April was the highest month until May. May was the highest month until June. June was the highest month until July, when we had 212,000 illegal encounters on the southern border. We now have what Secretary Clinton campaigned on in 2016. We have a borderless hemisphere. And for Mayorkas to say the border's secure when we see with our own eyes what's going on, Americans don't appreciate it. And it's why you see so much frustration from the American people about this issue, and frankly, a host of others.
I mean, we live in a society where we have a government that is supposedly responsive to the people. The Biden people in the back of their minds must know that the ordinary American is not okay with this. Why do you think they're pushing ahead with it, almost with like brazen indifference? Is it that they think, listen, over 2 years, we're going to get 5 million people in here. It's going to tip the electoral balance. Who cares what the American people think? We'll have how are they thinking about it when they know that people see all these images and can't be comfortable with what they're seeing?
Yeah, they're not comfortable. That's evident in the approval ratings that are so low now for President Biden. I don't know if that's the reason. It very well could be, because I don't know that there's any more logical explanation for why they do what they do. But I also think, frankly, part of it's probably just, we can't do what Trump did. Even though President Trump's policies worked, think about it. We went from a secure border to chaos in less than 9 months. We went from peace in the Middle East to rockets being fired on Israel in less than 9 months. We went from energy independence to the president of the United States begging OPEC to increase production in less than 9 months. Everything they've touched has been terrible. So part of it, I think, though, on the border is just, we can't do what Trump did, even though what Trump did worked. That is a bad position to take for any administration, but that seems to be what the Biden administration is doing.
Well, except in one area, and that's Afghanistan. Because remember, when the Afghan disaster unfolded with Americans left behind, with all this equipment left behind, what does Biden say? I'm just doing what Trump was going to do. So that's the one case where he kind of embraced the Trump's agenda as if he was sort of locked into it, even though, of course, the withdrawal plan was entirely Biden's own. Let's turn to Afghanistan for a second. What do you make? Is that something that they're going to be able to move on from? Will the American people forget about it? Or do you think that's something that's going to come and haunt them in the midterms?
No, I think all of this stuff is going to be on Americans' mind for the midterm election. I don't think that they're going to try, of course, to move on from it. But when you have 13 service members give their lives for our country, when you have Americans left behind, allies left behind, $90 billion of equipment and weapons left behind, a president who kills 10 innocent people with a drone strike, and a Joint Chiefs of Staff in a book, if you can believe what Bob Woodward says, made a statement to his Chinese counterpart that if he made that statement, it is as wrong can be. If that's true. So when you have all that, I don't think Americans are going to forget the foreign policy concerns that they have with the Biden administration, and in particular, what happened in Afghanistan.
You know, I mentioned this earlier on the podcast, but I was watching TV and watching Woodward talking to Colbert, and to my amazement, Woodward goes, Milley did the right thing. Milley was the one guy who showed courage under the situation. I'm thinking to myself, In what universe is it okay for the head of the Joint Chief of Staff to usurp the power of the president even for 1 minute, or to call up our leading adversary and say, guys, I'll tip you off if there's any attack coming? I mean, how is it possible for a rational mind to justify that?
This is where the left is. I mean, the left actually thinks the bureaucrats are more important than the people who put their names on the ballot, and that's not what our Constitution says. I mean, when was General Milley's name ever on a ballot? When was Lois Lerner's name on a ballot? When did she run for office? And remember what she did to people through the IRS when she targeted people like you and I, conservatives around the country. When was Dr. Fauci's name ever on a ballot? When did he ever have to go answer to we the people in an election? That is not how our system works, but that's what the left has embraced. Oh, the bureaucrats, the state, the permanent state, the permanent deep state, the permanent swamp, they're the ones should be making decisions because they're the quote experts. That is not how it's supposed to work, but that's what the left believes, and that's why they say these kind of things. You and I know that's not how this great country is supposed to work under our Constitution. Let's hope we can get to the bottom of it and change this kind of thing.
When we come back, I want to ask Congressman Jim Jordan about the infrastructure bill and what its fate is going to be. We'll be right back.